pleasure to serve under your chairmanship, Sir Henry, and I commend the Honourable Lady for Stretford and Ernest on securing the debate. I'd also like to pay tribute to my intern, Gillian Hughes, who's working with me for a few weeks and helped prepare for this debate today. Now, given the complexity of Home Office procedures and the conscious decision of this government to create a hostile environment, it is not surprising that so many asylum-seeking constituents come to me for support with their cases. What is even less palatable, though, is the new range of problems refugees are often faced with after going through the harrowing process of achieving leave to remain, not least the loss of their financial support and accommodation within just 28 days of a successful decision from the Home Office. Now, I myself am in the process of moving house, and I can testify that this is a very stressful event, even when done voluntarily and with the chance to prepare financially. But imagine, though, trying to do this within 28 days after having been restricted to not working, surviving on an income of £37.70 per week, and despite language barriers, unfamiliarity with the area, and often no support network. In these circumstances, falling into homelessness is, I'm afraid, a very real threat. Now, of course, as it stands to reason that the support from the National Asylum Support Service would end when you're no longer in the process of claiming asylum. However, this should be a managed transition over a reasonable period of time. To end so abruptly makes it extremely difficult for new refugees to move forward and places a burden on other government departments, local authorities and the charities that are already at breaking point. Now, last month, I held a special asylum and refugee surgery in Cranhill in my constituency. I did this in conjunction with a fantastic Glasgow charity called Refugee. Now, as well as providing practical support in the form of donated clothing, food, toys and other necessities, Refugee collects welcome letters written by people all over the city to our newest Glaswegians. One such letter which struck me recently was from a wee girl called Kira. Now, Kira had written a beautiful note which said, "Please don't worry, you're safe now." So how then would we explain to Kira that of 54 refugees interviewed by the Refugee Council in September last year, not one had found secure accommodation, asylum accommodation, and by the time that their asylum accommodation was withdrawn, half of them had been forced to sleep rough or in a night shelter. Now, from the point of view of local authorities, homelessness is already normally considered to be imminent if it is within 56 days of becoming a reality. However, refugees are expected to be able to move on within just half of that time. Now, this is not a practical timeframe to impose on some of the most vulnerable people within our communities, particularly if the government is serious about its pledge to half rough sleeping by 2022 and eliminate it by 2027. I think we would all agree in this chamber, Sir Henry, that a secure home is the cornerstone of building a new life and establishing new roots. Housing insecurity is a major barrier to education, employment and integration. Now, I just want to give you an example. At the weekend, I met with my Baillieston constituent, Agatha Mazangera. Agatha was recently granted refugee status and has already passed her 28-day mark, but has not yet been able to secure a permanent home. Agatha and her daughter have been moved temporarily to a bedsit in the opposite end of the city to where their asylum accommodation originally was. Agatha was very active in her former neighbourhood as part of the parent council and PTA at her daughter's school and as a member of her local church. She had tried to keep some sense of familiarity for her daughter by continuing to travel across the city for school each day, but this sadly became unworkable after a while. Now, Agatha's daughter, Michaela, therefore had to leave behind her friends at a crucial time in her education and start again at a new school. And the ongoing uncertainty about her living conditions means that Michaela might have to move school yet again. Now, a managed transition with some professional support may have enabled this family to continue to contribute to the community they'd become such valuable members of. A leave to remain decision might enable you to stay in the country, but as it stands, a clock starts ticking from the mere 28 days for you to find work and leave what has been essentially your home. Now, these are tall orders when you've been living hand to mouth, have no savings, often not even a bank account, and are learning a new language. And I have no doubt that the majority of new refugees are equally as keen to move to a stable home and into work, as is the case for the Home Office for them. But we have to move away from this culture of hostile practices and provide a bit of support to actually do this. We must take some simple, common sense steps to reduce the unnecessary incidences of homelessness or transient housing caused by the unrealistic timescale. Because allowing 56 days to move on and access to mainstream homelessness prevention services could dramatically increase the chances. Happy to give way to the honourable gentleman.
I thank the honourable member for giving way. Even where people, including refugees, play by the rules, do the right thing, it's often Home Office error that leads to the complications that end up with people being homeless. This happened to Mr Mazzari and his family in my constituency. It took 2 years to overturn a mistake by the Home Office. Would it not be simpler if the legal aid retractions under the coalition government were reverted and we had civil legal aid available to refugees and others who are subject to Home Office decisions? I'm going through Home Office policies.
I'm very grateful to the honourable gentleman for that intervention, and that very much chimes with some of what I see in my own constituency surgeries. There are, of course, issues with legal aid, particularly in devolved areas of the country, which makes it even more difficult for the Home Office when they're not following their own procedures. I think that's a very valid point to make. But as I was saying, allowing 56 days to move on and access to mainstream homelessness prevention services could dramatically increase the chances of finding a suitable and longer-term property. But being awarded refugee status should, at the very least, mean a fair chance at having a place of refuge. As refugee in Glasgow would say, we're off somewhere, but right now our asylum accommodation system is failing people and leaving them with nowhere in the world to call home, and I think we would all agree in this place that we must be doing better on this.